boo, boo, boo. There we go, my spine popped. Let's close that distraction. Hello, hello. Still haven't played RD2. I want to, but I also don't want to. But morning, how's it going, River? Nice. I've been a DM most of that time. I've almost never cared enough to write a vignette about a character. I did it one time, and really what I did was write the one-shot session, like, the way my brain saw it, and kind of condense the one-shot session into a little piece. Because it was a really cool, like, little one-shot. But that's the closest I've ever come. I love that you love a character that much. I want to get better at being a DM. Also, I play a Saturday game, Superheroes, once a I'll bring you in. But I wish I could. That's fair. Uh, I want to learn how to do voices, and I want to find storytelling. Not like how to be a great public speaker or how to write a story, which is what you find when you Google. But I want to tell like narrative oration classes so that I can learn how to uh, become like a Patrick Rothfuss level, DM. The other thing I was thinking about taking was improv. There are actually some in Washington. There's obviously none in Texas. So my fallback plan is to do improv classes, which I will hate. But we'll definitely... I can't do it. I have a really hard time with it. I'm really good at crafting a world that people can live in, unsurprisingly. Where characters can get invested. I can give you guys stories pretty quickly. Um, but like building genuinely interesting NPCs is hard, and I've done it. But a lot of the time, it's I've built the skeleton of the NPC, and then the players who I'd grown up with a lot of them, you know, filled in a lot of the details and fell in love with the NPC. One of the things I want to learn how to do, and unfortunately I'd have to learn horror stuff, is be able to develop that fear in a player, because I'm really good about like players do something and then I can build a narrative off like aside jokes that a player mentioned. So I'm not great at like pre-building a giant campaign, but I want to get good at that like ability to create the fear and the suspense. And part of that might be that I don't feel it because I'm the DM, but my players sure as hell do. It'd be fun. Right now I'm running a superhero game with like all the characters are in college, so I don't really get to scare them the same way. It's actually a really interesting challenge putting a tabletop RPG setting in college, because it's inherently a safe place. So you have to give them challenges in a very specific way. And like roleplay challenges in a very specific way, but it's interesting. Ooh, yeah. This is the second time I've put a tabletop RPG in a college, and the last one was attempted at Dresden Files one, which didn't go very well. Mostly because there was two of us who knew Dresden Files and nobody else. I think it's just a different type of narrative storytelling than classic tabletop RPG, which is what I've gotten used to. Too. I think it's just, in the end of the day, it's hard to build... You have to build a much different level of tension and stakes. And it's a very different type of worry. Because they're not worried about dying. What you have to do is build the worry of them getting kicked out of the program. Or them failing a class. Which is interesting. Yeah. Although what? They were dealing with student murders by book 2, book 3? Yeah, there was. I was never comfortable with how much that was played for, like, ha! Look at her, she's a neurotic. I need sad music, so we're gonna go with the Battletech soundtrack. Good and bad. I mean, as you can see, I'm not. Oh, I thought I opened it. Oh no, I had to. I'm not here. I should be here. Um, but I'm just kind of messing around. I actually wrote a little bit not on a stream. Well, twice I wrote a little bit not on a stream because obviously I was traveling and I had time to kill, so I tried to write. Planes are so distracting, though. I will watch somebody else's screen long before I watch my own screen. Unless I bring books, so I'd like read. I own a 14-inch laptop for a reason, and it's because I can actually open it on planes somewhat. I hate my phone. I am such an old man. Like the so I was talking to a friend who really likes the algorithms of dating apps. He thinks they're really interesting. And we figured one of the dating apps was kind of like the best algorithm, kind of the best deal for like but like I have to type messages to people on my phone, and that makes it inherently less interesting to me. I am such a grumpy old man about my phone. Uh like I don't even text if I can get away with it on my phone. I use messages for what is it? Messages for Android for web, messages for web. So I type everything. Most of my texts come off my computer. Oh no, it's awesome. I like getting texts. I just have to have I have had it set up for years so that I never text from my actual phone. Which is part of why sometimes you'll text me, I'll reply, I'll walk away from my computer, and I'll have my phone with me, but I will have completely forgotten that I was mid reply on my computer. And it's part of why I am really bad about like being a part of the whatchamacallit, that Discord server. Yeah, because I'm not. If I'm at my computer, I have so many other things happening that like typing to people in a server is a little teeny portion of my brain power. And if I'm not at my computer, I try. I'm not a huge Like, I'm not going to be sitting there typing messages. I don't know how I became an old man about... Yeah, I need to figure out where I could put that. I'm a techie, and I'm a grumpy old man about new tech. A lot of the time. I'm like, bah, that's stupid. I do really miss physical keyboards on smartphones, though. I'm not going to buy a BlackBerry, but I really liked physical keyboards on some of those early gen smartphones. Yeah, and the keyboard I was using for a long time uh, on Android was depreciated. So I'm on the Google keyboard, which means I have to teach the Google keyboard all my spelling things and everything, which is always fun and something that is ridiculous to complain about. But the swipe on it doesn't seem quite as swipey. So I'm learning to type, and it kind of infuriates me. I use voice to text a lot and the Google one's pretty good, but I use voice to text a lot, and everybody thinks I'm the weirdest person to sit there and just dictate texts over and over and over again in public. I don't like it for writing. There's something about the brain process that doesn't work for writing when I'm actually writing. Yeah, I mean, I get weird errors, and I've got one friend who is really bad about reading the context clues of an error. He'll just be like, "What is that?" And I'm like, "Well, we were talking about this thing, and I replied to you with a mostly positive statement, but, like, the subject got mistranslated. Transliterated, actually. And so all of a sudden you're confused? Like, read the goddamn context clues of the conversation, my friend." And he's like one of my oldest friends. I love him dearly. But every time he's like, "I don't understand what you just said," I'm like, for fuck's sake, it's one word. It's like 3 letters transposed. Don't start doing that to me. He's like my oldest friend, and I'm still like, man, and I'll still yell at him, and I don't feel bad because I've known him. He's basically my like brother. Don't be mean. I mean, be mean because it's funny. But like, ugh. This is interesting. So, I've been watching, and it's not an anime I can recommend just because it has some really questionable bits to it. But I've been watching this anime that essentially takes magical girls and is like, all right, but like they went to war. So sort of like Madoka, has its big twist, but this one's very upfront of like they're just spec ops soldiers at this point, and kind of follows their little story while still trying to stick to some of the magical girl tropes. And one of the things they did was, so they took a magical girl and gave her like deep PTSD, and it's post like they saved the world. But one of the things they did was have like this really interestingly traumatic fight in an amusement park, and it got my brain juices flowing. So I was trying to set up like this fight in an amusement park and like a resort town nearby, as just kind of this brutal, like bizarrely surrealistic, and it works better in film and visual media for obvious reasons. Like it's bizarrely surrealistic to be like shooting each other, in the shadow of a Ferris wheel. But I love that idea of turning like genuinely innocent spaces into Warzone kind of spaces. So I was trying to write this scene, and so what I started with was this like really quiet, really interesting, like slow push through the forest, and I couldn't get it to go from this like slow, very stealthy advance to flip it into this heavy combat scene that is just like hellacious. And the point is like what they're fighting is an enemy that's very similar to sci-fi's Zerg or the Tyranids, or because it's sci-fi. There's always a Zerg, there's always a Tyranids, there's always a Yozonvong, I guess would be the Star Wars equivalent of the Zerg. There's always a flood. There's always a big or a Borg, except the Borg are the only... Borg are one of the few examples of an all-consuming enemy that is non-biological and is techno in its base. The Replicators, I guess, from SG-1, from Stargate. Huh. There's a paper to write there. I swear I have the attention span of a goldfish sometimes. Where did I keep my notes on papers to write? But so like, and we get you get the like technology as the all-consuming entity, but it's a lot more framed as zombies or Grey Goo scenarios. You don't get the flood kind of like biome. I guess Grey Goo scenarios are the sci-fi equivalent. I guess they're both sci-fi equivalents, but Grey Goo scenarios are a lot of the time it's man versus machine. It's framed in a way that is a lot more what is it? It's framed in a way that's a lot more the folly of man. Whereas when it's like people versus flood, it's framed as just this all-consuming existential threat. Or the Tyranids or the Zerg. There's a really interesting split. There's a really interesting paper to write there. And I want to find my notes on all the papers that I want to write, because I'm deliberately keeping notes on all these papers that I want to write. Because I'm a dork. List of things I want to research. There it is. Exploration of the similarities and differences between the sci-fi trope of the biological consumer, Zerg, and technological consumer, replicators / Grey Goop. That is a really fascinating paper. And this is a really silly list of different things to research. Got 2 Doctor Who ones. A pure anthropological study about the different meanings of sticking one's tongue out. And honestly, any cross-cultural study of the different meanings of, and like cross-generational study of the different meanings of basic human physical gestures, like a smile, and you know the differences in a smile and a smile are super fascinating to me. It's almost like I'm an anthropology major. I feel like this one might have lost its meaning, but like people's identifications with usernames specifically. I wrote a whole paper on learning theories applied by game designers in tutorials and like the pedagogical approaches. And then this one's really interesting to me. What happened to Filk? That one's really interesting. I would love to do a research thing on what happened to Filk music. Filk is really weird. Yeah, like it's something you'd assume everybody knew, or like everybody of a certain age would know what it is who's a nerd. But it basically doesn't exist anymore. It's a relic of a very different type of convention. But yeah, fiction folk music. It's things like... I actually have one that I really like. This. Let me turn on. This might be loud, I apologize. I don't remember how to enable desktop audio. Doesn't look like it's too loud. Come on, where's the music?
Grayson's lost its champion, to God she has returned. To stand before the tester in the state her rank has earned. Our Lady needs an honor guard, an escort and a crew. And if you're the best available, I guess you'll have to do no quarter. No quarter! You damn well.
So like that was done at a convention with a crowd. Really? You got to see my desktop background at some point? It is awesome, but... Oh, right. Over somewhere. Yeah. Alright, let's mute this audio now so I'm not blasting music. Good. But it's things like that. Like, that is literal folk music designed to be sung for a fandom. Oh, I love that picture. I've got a giant version of it. Like a full poster version of it over my desk as well. but it's the vinyl kind of like poster canvas, and I want to at some point replace this vinyl one with a full framed canvas one. Is it my Discord icon? It might be my Discord icon right now. It's been a while since I've seen what my Discord icon is. It probably is, though. Yeah, it is. See, I love it because growing up, I was the knight, and I still am, but like, that was the ideal for me growing up. That's interesting. That's really interesting. I was the very much that white knight, wanting to be, wannabe kid. Uh, but no, I love that. That picture just captures a lot. Those are the pictures that I'm always immensely jealous of, too. Are the ones that can capture so much in a single image. I hate those. Like, I love them, but I hate those artists because I'm always so jealous of them when I have to spend 1,000 words or 10,000 words doing the same thing. It's also why I regret not enough to like learn it, but I regret my inability to write poetry. I agree. It does make you a better writer. I also literally can't grok how it works. I can get haikus, but just generally, like, rhythm and imagery aren't my friends no matter what. Trying to find, there's a very specific picture that had my. I wrote this picture caused me to write an entire like basic outline of a world that just where all magic came from music, but then I realized I don't know enough about music to like. Also, I my world that I write is so big, but I don't know enough about music to really make this work. There was a picture just recently that like I fell in love with. I don't know. Interesting. think maybe one day I might use part of this. I might take a stream and just go back and like look at some of the stuff I wrote way back when, because I archived and versioned a lot of it. I lost some of it over time, or like just by accidentally saving over it with revisions. But yeah, some of the stuff I wrote back then, like I'll still read it and I'm like, oh, it's bad, but I'll be like, I'm into this story. I think that's always been my great blessing, is that I'm basically writing for myself. And what that means is I usually like what I write. But yeah, I love using art and imagery to like inspire writing. I was reminded I needed to do something. What was that picture? Oh well. Oh, it wasn't the picture. It was just the shot of a bunch of magical girls with like heavy assault weapons looking at a park, or an amusement park. You know what? I need to be in a very specific mind frame for this one, because this piece, the way so like I was saying, I tried this like straight up approach into the fight, and then was like just gonna make it get worse and worse, and I could not make it work. So instead, I decided to do flashback version. So it's a lot of flashing. So this is like the end of the fight, and then you get snippets of the fight, so you can kind of highlight the major. But this was a really fun way to just write the exhausted. It was really interesting to just write her at the end of everything just done. And honestly, the funniest part and the saddest thing is the hardest part is writing her mom just being a loving mom. No direct insult to my mom, but like it's a very specific flavor that's just weird. We're going to switch up the music here. I have such a weird... I'm not emotionally stunted, but there's a lot of weird places where I'm like, I don't know how to be like this, like, openly honest and loving, write this specific version of this open and honestly loving relationship. It's really weird. It's weird where the flaw, like where your own traumas and just personality quirks can kind of like get in the way of your writing. Oh, yeah. definitely. But like, there are places that are, well, not definitely, but thank you. But there are definitely places where it's flawed, and you're like, hmm. I have to give a lot of credit to my friends who are like psych majors and stuff, who just kind of beat me over the head with being able to recognize my own flaws. I'm glad I don't have a psych degree. I don't like. I probably could have done it, but it'd be. I don't think I would have enjoyed. I don't think I would have enjoyed the process. The being the psychologist is. I don't think the thing that I would have enjoyed. But like the science of psych and the way human social brains and like social interactions and stuff all work is super cool. Oh, whoops, let's go back. Let's turn. Yeah. Yes. So I finally went and spent the money to go to the movies, and I went to see The Hidden World, which I adored. Although it fucked me up a bit, but I adored it. Although, as much as I enjoyed it, I really just want the opening song, the main theme, and I don't know where that is in the new album. Have you seen the new one yet? Let's get rid of this. You haven't seen any of them? They're really good. They're really fun. And I didn't realize they were a trilogy until I saw this third one, and I was like, oh, I see the trilogy here. Fair, but 2 of the 3 are now out, you know, in the interwebs and stuff. I think I love the story, and it's, you know, and they're not like kids movies. They're very, they're not like kiddie. They don't talk down. They're relatively like grown YA sort of movies. But my favorite thing is in the first movie, you meet the obvious love interest. They start a relationship. And it's a successful relationship in that first movie. The second movie starts, what do you expect to happen? Like, what do you expect to be a major subplot conflict? And it's the relationship. That's always how these work. They don't do that in this one. They never create relationship drama that doesn't seem natural. You know, like, they're arguing about this thing, but you can tell they're arguing without it threatening the relationship. And it is such a genuine relief to see this really just purely healthy and relatively realistic. Like, it's not perfect, but they're a healthy couple through 3 movies of a kids movie. Not to mention, I have a massive crush on Astrid because of course I do, given the kind of person she is. But like, it is just genuinely heartwarming every time I see one of these movies. Every time the movie came out, I'm like, they didn't break them up for some stupid reason. And they do a really good job in the third movie of him, like, of the main character is an angsty, like, 18, 20-year-old who's now, you know, in charge of things. And his mom is a lot of times like, he's not going to listen to anybody else, but he trusts you. He likes, you know, he loves you. So go talk to him. You can, like, get through his angst. And then it's the other way around. Like, you see them supporting each other. You don't see them. It's not manipulative. It's like, no, he needs somebody who believes in him, and he knows you do. It's really sweet. Oh, yeah. And of course, the movie show is a little one-sided because you've got a main character and a supporting character, so, you know, she supports him a little bit more than the other way. in the movie's text, but they make a lot of references to the way he supports her. That sucks. Tooth stuff is always the worst. Tooth stuff is always kind of scary. Oof. I'm sorry. That's a real bummer. I love doing that. And by love, I mean it's stupid to do, but like I do it all the time where I'm like, all right, it's only like 5 days, I can make it. Let's see, that is what? That's a long way away. A week and change if it's giving you a headache. I don't know if I'd tough that out. Oh no, I was just thinking, I'm like, the second, I'm like, oh, that's really around the corner. But a week and change is a long way away to tough it out. Oh, okay. Intermittent is manageable, but what that sounds like is a cavity or something. That's unfortunate. What is my writing stream piece of focus? Oh, it's that one. Did you read the short that's in the stream of focus? The piece of focus piece? It was from a couple weeks back. Sucks. Cavities suck. I've had my fair share. Because I'm really bad about, like, brushing my teeth. It's the executions one. I don't know. I don't remember if you'd given me comments on it or not. Like, I came out of it really happy, but with how it turned out. You don't worry about it. I was just curious. I am bad about brushing and bad about flossing. And I always have been. A lot of that is I just don't want to spend the time. It annoys me that my teeth don't auto clean themselves. I'm finally living on my own, grown adult is when I'm learning to get really a lot better about brushing. Yeah, basically. If there's any part of the body that should like auto clean itself and not be an issue, it should be my teeth. But also, it totally shouldn't be the mouth because the mouth is a cesspool. Like, I'm aware of the biology of the mouth being just this nasty place, but Also, eyes should be self-repairing. Oh, that was smart of me. I really enjoy them. Sometimes I don't get as much writing done as I should, but what is that new? Yeah. That's what I mean. It's like, it's not that new. I just do it from my house instead of, like... Ugh. I don't know what smelf was, but I apparently wanted to write the word smelf. I don't want to Google that word either. Yeah, totally. I love the How to Train Your Dragon. What do you call it? It's not the theme song, but it's like a specific element of the theme song. It's the Star Wars, opening, like, the little bit of the melody that you hear and you're like, oh, it's Star Wars. Same with Pirates. Signature melody is the only thing I can think of, but I don't know if that's right or not. Uh-oh. What are my honorifics? My honorifics are... I don't know if I have an honorific for Sir. Got my lady and my lord, and like a gender neutral version of my lady and my lord. Where are my honorifics? I know I have honorifics stored somewhere. Honor. Do I not have honorifics? How do I not have honorifics? Oh. Huh. Autonomous is Marshal. Shariel is officer. Tyrell is non-com officer. Sulamas is soldier. Kanashin is marine. Kanshufan is guardian. Veligir is pilot. Noctfen is guardian mage. Shikulu is that. Stomaros is that. Virinos is basically cop. Nox Presi. How do I not have honorifics? That is insane to me. See, I don't want to use ma'am. I don't want to... I want an honorific that doesn't mean ma'am or sir. Just, there's no need for it. Y'all is... Like, so it's Ialor. Ialar is the male and female versions, but like, Ial just means person. And that's a completely acceptable use. So like the conjugations are there as a option more than a use. So like if I'm saying my lady, it's Vinialor. My lord is Vinialor, or Vinialar, and lord is Vinialor. But like the gender neutral is Vinial. And it means the same thing. So I've got an honorific for an AI. I have high and mighty, I have great, but I don't just have a standing term for sir. Slash man. Go. Gilu is honored, respected. I must have a word for respect. Respect. R-E-S-P-A-C-T. Shoot. I've got obscenities. I've got some common phrases. Wow. Do I have a word for gun? I don't have a word for gun yet. Which actually, interestingly enough, I don't need a word for gun the same way I need a word for like spear and bow, because if this culture lasts long enough, a lance of soldiers is a specific thing. A shield unit, you know, is going to be a thing, but you're never going to have a rifle unit. Or you will, but it'll be... that unit will probably be called something a little different. Oh, I always love my... my system for colors is really interesting. So I just got a bunch of the basic ones, but I really like this bit. So, like, blue is Sivoy, but, like, dark blue would be Coutro Sivoy. Light blue is Lewa Sivoy. And so, like, I love that I have a dark and light prefix. I think I did at some point. Maybe not. I definitely know I went down a rabbit hole of color naming at some point. Cool, we're gonna, over here, add a honorifics page, or honorifics, and then a note, need, do. Interesting. No, I haven't done that kind of research. That sounds like fun. That sounds like a horrible rabbit hole for me. I know... one of the ones that I really pay a lot of attention to is... different cultures... is the different colors meaning death, danger, and like negative things. As well as positive, but like specifically death, danger, and evil. That's just enough of a rabbit hole to get me interested. Mass Grecian color blindness. He describes, yeah, he does describe the sea as the same color as wine. There's no word for blue in ancient Greek. Huh. Interesting. I thought the Phoenicians had... Oh, I thought the Phoenicians had a blue. I don't even know where to stash this tidbit of info, but we'll just shove it in writing references for now. Yeah, they do. This article from Clark's World specifies red, ochre, green, violet, yellow, and then with the Egyptians and the Byzantines is blue. That is fascinating. That is super interesting. That is a very... well, and they start talking about linguistics relativism and like just basic human brain. You totally gave me another rabbit hole. The thing that always interested me is why certain colors relate to death. Yeah, the one that I always, because being a Westerner, that I'm always fascinated by is black and white. And death and how often a color associated with death is associated with evil. But black and white's the big one for me. Especially when you look at the complete opposite in a lot of the Asian cultures, Japanese specifically, where white is related to death, and whereas we have black. And so what that gives you is, like, in purely traditional mediums, I don't know. Yeah, so, like, you'll see it, some of the more traditional stuff, like, the people who are bad are dressed in white. Which is really weird and really trippy for a Westerner. And of course, it's all like cross-mingling and mixing now, but generally speaking, things that are white are considered unlucky because they relate to death. Or pure white. And that, but it's so interesting because, like, that starts relating to good and evil concepts. Yeah, things like that. Things that sound like, you know, and then you start like, all right, but that interprets how good and evil are perceived, or what is considered an evil number, or an evil thing, and the shorthands you can use to describe it. Well, you make them this number of people, or an organization that is like organization this. Same thing we do with 13, right? Yeah, and so 7 in Asian cultures is the magic number. We also use 7 as a magical number in Western culture. Along with 3. But for some reason, 3 is considered a magical number, at the very least in Western culture. I'm not 100% sure. But 7 is considered a magical number. You know, a powerful magical number is 7 thing. 3 and 9 are my favorites. Although I have a special place in my heart for 13. Also, that's cool. Synesthesia is one of those things that is, like, super interesting as just the way the brain works. No. No. Pretty sure I don't. I think the weirdest I get with words is there are words that look good. You see it when I start world building stuff. But something like Durim or Durim just looks correct. When I'm like coming up with words and stuff. And then there are words that don't quite look correct, like mire heritus. And they bug me that they don't look right. So whenever I'm world building stuff, I go until I see a word that I like. Faltari. I really like this word. but it doesn't really matter how they pronounce a lot of the time. I'm more interested in how they physically look on text. It's a fun word, actually. I really like that name. I need to use that name. Faltare. Faltare. And I wouldn't have noticed it unless I was like literally. I'll notice it a little bit when I'm typing, like when I'm writing pure English. But unless I was literally building words, I would never have noticed that is like. It doesn't matter how it sounds. It doesn't matter what it like will pronounce as. But like, Kware is actually a really good example. That is a very perfect looking name to me. Same with her last name, which is the Javerka. Looks really good to me. Even though it's a nightmare to pronounce. I'm 90% sure I don't pronounce it the way most people would pronounce it. So it's Jirveraka, I think is how most... Or Jirvarka. But it's Kware Jiverka is the way I pronounce it. So it's Jirverka. But I don't want to get Javarka. You know, like people are gonna, if they read it, they're gonna pronounce it their own way. Which is fine, but it is. It's not an easily pronounced name in some ways. Jivarka. Interesting. I actually kind of like Jivarka. I'm glad the one that I'm really glad that you actually agree is Kware. Oh. Jiverka. Interesting. And to be fair, they are mostly designed to be intuitive because I'm taking Latin and Japanese. Which are both very phonetic based languages. Which is nice, to be honest. It also makes cutting them together really nice, unlike the Feoran or the Fea language, which is Swedish and Gaelic, and I don't know how those languages work. So, like, cutting them apart and putting them together is super complicated. Japanese and Latin are... and I don't splice in a way that, like, you know, you're not going to see Japanese root, Latin root properly. Like, I'll just splice the bits of the language that sound fun to me, or that build the best word. I think so, too. But, like, because Japanese is very structural, right? Like, it's very ka, ga, wa, sa, na. It's really easy to take, like, elements of it apart. Unlike English, which is a nightmare. And then because Latin is similar, it's really easy to break Latin apart and put it back together. Honestly, I think this might be one of the more important pieces of a scene that I've ever put together. Is just, here's my badass Spec Ops commander, you know, like this real badass of a fighter, just crying in her mom's arms at the end of a really hard fight, like of a really brutal fight. And yeah, it's two women, but like, I think I'd like to like work elements of that more. Yeah, her mom's Navy, but I like to work more elements of like genuine emotional vulnerability into these like soldiers. You know, these soldiers. Just because the society as a whole is structured around military service, but I don't want it to be structured around. I don't want it to get structured around machismoism and the things that you would see in a lot of our military service societies. So this is a nice scene of just... Actually, I'm just going to splice this whole scene. I think the way I put this scene together works really well. I'm going to replace the writing stream piece with the top bit of this scene. Time is 12:30. Cool. I will be right back. Gonna take a quick break, and then I'll be back. I'm back. Hello, Sargrim. How's it going? How was the library? I got really confused why I had the word Juverka just written down there. That's cool. Ooh, very interesting. Different foreign languages or the same foreign language? Now I just have How to Train Your Dragon stuck in my head. Nice. What languages and not gonna say why because I've got like a bajillion different cultures, myths on my shelves, but why? What research specifically, or just because? Ooh, nice. Is it Carvus 9 that I gave her? Spec Ops 1. Oh, it might not be Carvus, but we're gonna keep using Carvus. What is Carvus? It's Carvus Squad. Do you... Because I'm an American, so I only have English as my first and only native language. How many... Sounds like you have a lot. You sounds like you have at least more than that. Also, English is such a weird language that even speaking it as a first native language is... Those books on English are super cool. Gosh, it's cold in here. Yeah. Guess there's no point in me. Well, there's 20 minutes left. I can make tea. I don't have a ton of time because I scheduled a doctor's appointment for 2 o'clock. Okay, Google, set a 3-minute timer.
Sure, 3 minutes. Starting now.
Okay, Google, delete that timer and set a 5-minute timer.
Alright, I canceled it.
Okay, Google, delete that timer and set a 4-minute timer. There we go.
Alright, I canceled it. Second timer for 4 minutes. Starting now.
No worries. I really like this map generator that was in that Discord river. Let me share it just because it's super interesting. I'll make you rings of gold, I'll even bring you poetry. I'll love you from all harm if you would stand beside me. And now for your poetry. Beside me, savage seas will feel drowning. I don't think you posted it, but it was posted in that like reference repository a little bit up. Super cool. I really like this map generator. Like, these are the maps it generates. And then you can take things out like the rivers. The thing I like is you can go cultures. And you actually get like a blended heat map of cultures. Let's do a pure landmass map. And it just scrubs out. I'm like, alright, we'll make it a height map. The rivers. I really like this. The other thing I like is just the ability to put a grid in. I really like this. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of those things that will suck up your time. Let's just do a mainland template with no states, no burgs, no cultures. I definitely want the rivers. Oh, the hotkey's F7. That's good to know. And you can get zoomed. I wonder how granular this gets. Oh, this gets pretty granular. Especially given that that's a height map. So, like, that's just... And this is all, like, all the different colors on here right now are a height map. Those are forests. Different types of forests, too, it looks like. And then you've got hills or dunes. I assume hills, given that the height map is getting steeper there. It definitely is chugging a little bit in Chrome right now. But to be fair, I am streaming. But then the other thing that's really cool is... let's make it a political map. And put in... let's reset the default. I don't know if it requires that much power, but then, like, these are country borders and trade routes. Okay, Google, stop. And then city names within those trade routes. Okay, Google, stop. The only thing that's kind of a bummer is that it does continents singular. That doesn't mean I haven't figured out how to and then you can save the map. Let me do save. You can save it as a .map, a .svg, and a .png. Oh wow, and it gives you can see here, it gives you details. So the Berg Castellar is 106, population of 41.3, whatever that means, right? Whatever you decide kind of that means. Country Valos, culture Astelian. So what's nice is if we turn this into a culture map, like this all might be one country, but then these are subcultures within the country. And they have crossover between country borders. Let's turn off countries. And like, yeah, they're labeled Norse and like Eldian, you know, Angshire. Like, they don't mean anything, the cultures. Well, they do, but they wouldn't mean anything in your fantasy world. But you can totally use them as... And I love the way they blend them across borders. Like, borders themselves are not the hard cutoff. Let's make it a pencil. Let's make it dingy. Haha. Yeah. In this case, Sarah, I just kind of got distracted and wandered. I'm gonna wrap up pretty soon here, just because I scheduled a doctor's appointment kind of right on top of things. But I'm here most Saturdays, as you know. Aw. This may take about 1 minute to load up a new map. That's funny. Hoping to get a filter, a pencil filter. But that may be a little too much to ask for. Oh, okay. Huh. Okay. I want to do cultures as a splotch. How about a shadow? Huh. That's really cool. This is a really powerful tool. Oh, sweet. Got multiple islands that time. Oh, I give myself 4 states. I wanted to give myself 2. New map. Height map template is currently set to archipelago, so you're going to get an archipelago. I want height map template to be mainland. New map. Archipelagos are interesting. Let's turn off cultures. That's a really big state disimbalance. Let me futz with that. Huh. That's an interesting choice for a random 2-state. Countries, borders, relief. Yeah, I want relief. Oh, this is neutral zone. Interesting. Let's turn down neutral distance significantly. Oh, whoops. Let's turn up neutral distance. There we go. There's the border. I don't like that the 2 countries are the same color. That's really weird to me. Here's a mess of different culture groups. What is this? Oh, that's not a border, that's a trader. This is the hard border right here. I don't like this continent that much either, but I'm curious. Styling. Political. The word I want is political. Countries. That's the word I wanted, actually. No filter. Options. I like that this is what I'm using my time for. Options. Let's turn off cultures, turn back on countries. Like, I don't like that it doesn't map each country as its unique color. I actually have to find the border, which in this case is right here. And technically it looks like up there, which is interesting. Oh, there is a continents option. We're not... The weird bulgy peninsula? Yeah. I wonder why it does two of the states as colored the same. So this gap of white is neutral. This is one country. This is a really weird duality here. But like, you could take that, you could write a really interesting, like, the history of this island specifically would be could be super interesting. Oh, okay. So the continents mode with plenty of countries is... It's as far zoomed out as I can get, so then it becomes a matter of just flying around the world, I assume. This is just country layout. Definitely. I try to do both depending on like the mood. So that's water, that's water. That's funny. Because there's too many countries, it didn't give any of the countries names. Just borders. I love this thing. I think it's super cool. Oh, and then you can load a .map file into it. Map. Shockingly, right? I wonder, how does it look like it builds these borders? A lot of these borders seem arbitrary. I don't see a lot of geological features creating border, or geographic features creating borders. Which is interesting. A lot of map generators try to go for geographic features creating borders, especially fantasy map generators. Like, you'd almost expect the border between this area and this area to run along this river. Which probably has a name, now that I think about it. What river? Oh, you can edit the river? Huh. Yeah, you'd expect this, although this map doesn't seem to have a ton of mountain ranges, it just seems to have some mountains. But yeah, you'd expect a lot more country borders to follow geographic features. Like, I'd expect the DeLand border here to actually map along this entire river, cutting a chunk out of the Dementhia. But, like, that's a natural defensive line. Same here, right? You'd expect the border to end here. But I like it because what we saw a lot of was... What you see a lot of is that's how borders are kind of initially laid out, is along major geographic features, and then you, over time, get a shift as, like, the world's politics shape, and the world's politics end up shaping borders instead. So, like, that might have been the border at one point right here, but for some reason, via politics, via war, via just time, like, the border shifted into more of a amorphous blob. It's just surprising that there's almost no borders that run along major natural features. Or the fact that there's no rivers running out of these mountains. But, like, I'm nitpicking a generator that is super awesome and can give me, like, basics. That too. Yeah, like, the river could have changed. I am kind of annoyed that there's no major rivers coming from the mountains on this map. But, like, it's nitpicky. I do like that the map does put most of the bergs. Yeah, you can change the rivers. You can probably change the mountains. Yeah, you can change the mountains. You can change... you can't change the trade routes, but you can change the bergs, which probably will change the trade routes. But I do like that it puts most of the cities along rivers. And most of the trade routes follow the rivers that it generates. Because of course they would. It's one of the most basics of transportation in general. That's really cool. I really like this generator. What if I change the density of the map cells? What does that do to me? I do like the island in the middle. I might put these landmasses farther apart and scale them up. Oh, okay. Changing the density of the map cell literally just stuffs more things into any given map cell. Which is obvious, but like... Of like actual D&D world, not a ton. I basically know what's in the Duoderan books. But like, yeah, I don't know a ton from that world. In large part because it frequently comes across as very boilerplate fantasy. I'm gonna email you. Well, oh. This map is very dense. That's what increasing the... Let's lower the density here and try it again. Yeah, so literally the density stuff, like, it decreases the number of things in a single tile. That's cool. Honestly, all these continent maps are kind of weird, but like this one I could actually move the continents apart so that you actually had distinct continents and then like scale up the scale of the continents so that you actually got like a full world, not just like a fantasy world, which always feels smaller. The other option I would do is an archipelago. And then like just scale the islands. So, you know, now this becomes spread out across the planet as different continents. This is a weird archipelago. I can't think of a natural way this archipelago would form from my limited understanding of all of that stuff. See, I don't have the lore of D&D memorized, but I've got the monster manual, the guide to monsters, blah 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 blah. Strains of fiends, imps, chain devils, spine devils, bearded devils, barbed devils, and bone devils are the lowest, or lesser devils, specifically. I will note, Asmodeus is not listed as a Lord of the Nine Hells. Might be a duke, though. He might be the Lord. Oh yeah, he is. But yeah, the Monster Manual has a really great breakdown on page 67 of like the actual layers and organization of Hell. So what you're looking for if you want a low rank stuff is an imp, a spine devil, a bearded devil, a barbed devil, a chain devil, or a bone devil, according to the book. I'm going to send you a link that will give you some access to stuff. Assuming you're willing to make a OneDrive account. Alright, I have... should probably get going on account of I got a doctor's appointment. But I'll send you that link here in a minute. Fare thee well.